Realty. There is an alternative.
Well, hello and good evening. Welcome to the Paul Revere Show. We are live here in Waukesha at the brand new stadium, 10-year anniversary of the Devil Radio and the Shaw, right here live. Monday night, 7 o'clock, 5:40 a.m., 101 or 92.7 FM. If you have a call-in tonight, call 844-967-2789. So tonight is Valentine's Day, folks. I hope you're out there spreading some love, talking to the people that are dear to you. And made me think, a few weeks ago I was talking about how do you create a more perfect union. And I told the story about Erin Jackson. Remember Erin Jackson? She was out here, African-American woman, speed skater, fell getting the qualifying, right? You remember that? And here she gets to the Olympics. She's there because Brittany Bowie gave up her spot, right, to share the spot. And what happens? She gets the gold medal. Now, that is just beautiful. The first African-American woman, speed skater, a gold medal, all because people were willing to share and communicate and believe in a more perfect union.
Amen.
So we are here tonight talking really about sort of the core, the center of the state, Waukesha, right here in the Shaw. And I have a wonderful guest, Kristen Hansen of Blue Sky Waukesha, and we're going to talk a while this evening about what Blue Sky Waukesha is and what's going on in Waukesha and what is Blue Sky. So, Kristen, tell us a little bit about who you are and what Blue Sky is.
I will. So I was doing work around elections and voting rights for many years before I thought that Waukesha deserved its own progressive advocacy group. And it kind of started
I think that's when we met, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I was doing all the voting rights stuff, and I was doing voter registration when that was a thing we could do with a clipboard. Remember that back in the day? And I started to realize that people were asking me a lot of really basic questions about voting and elections. And I was helping out a candidate by doing voter registration at his open house for his new office. And this is kind of the seminal moment that really sticks in my head. This couple came in, and the husband wanted to check his voter registration, make sure it was up to date, so we did that. And then he said, "You got to get my wife to register to vote." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she was a middle-aged woman from Lake Country. And she said, "I've never voted. I just don't feel like I ever have time to research the candidates and really know who I should vote for, and I feel like I'm going to make a mistake." And, she told the story that I'm sure is not unique. She said, after you feed the kids and do the homework and clean up the house and she said, the last thing I'm going to do is sit down at the computer and try to research who's running, who are they, it's so hard to find information about local candidates at all. Most of them don't have websites. You can maybe find a Facebook page. There's, getting a little bit better at some interviews, but she said, I never felt like I had enough information to make an informed choice. So I thought, and her husband's next to her going, see, tell her she's got to vote. And I thought, there should be something that is not one of the parties. We have two very strong parties here, but something that is for anyone who just wants to know the basics about voting and civics. And yes, we do have a set of values because, I founded this group. So it's sorry, but it's my values, which didn't used to be controversial. But I said, maybe we can have a set of values and we can talk to candidates and we can recommend candidates. But on the other side, we can also just give straight up trusted voter information. So our slogan is inform, engage, empower.
So when was Blue Sky Waukesha created?
April of 2019.
And what have you done in the last, coming up 3 years now?
Yeah.
Like what are the sort of key events that you recall?
We used to do back, in the before times, before COVID, we did monthly meetings with regular speakers. And I have a broad network I'm very lucky to have. So we brought in Ann Jacobs, your colleague from the Wisconsin Elections Commission. She talked about election security way before the 2020 election. We brought in regular candidates. We brought in elected officials. The mayor of Waukesha sat down with us. We were doing regular monthly informative meetings, but also starting a website and a digital presence that just straight up told people, here's how to register to vote. Here's where the elections are. Here's how you can do some research. Here's, the wonderful League of Women Voters site, Vote 411, where you can find nonpartisan information about candidates. Really basic information. And then we started to get involved in some community efforts, like trying to get the transit from Milwaukee to the industrial parks in Waukesha County, which I'm delighted to know is starting to become a thing again.
That's excellent.
Yeah. And so little by little. Now, this whole time, however, I have a day job. So this is all just volunteer led.
And here we are in the middle of Waukesha, 217 Wisconsin, talking about elections, values now. And you mentioned I'm on the Elections Commission. So we had a major decision come out of a judge, right? Mm-hmm. Judge Bourne, right here in Waukesha.
Yes.
And Judge Bourne found that, you can't use drop boxes. Mm-hmm. He said that, my mom is 90. She lives with my wife and I. She had a stroke. She lives upstairs. She cannot get her absentee ballot to a mailbox, right, without help. Now, it used to be for years and years and years and years that a spouse or a friend could take that absentee ballot and go drop it in, and we would count those votes.
Of course.
Right? Because we always thought that voting was you participated.
Shouldn't be a burden.
It's not only that. If we're going to ask people to be responsible, right, we should make it as easy to do. But now Judge Bourne is saying, if I take my mom's absentee ballot and put it in the mailbox, of course I can't take it to a drop box, but put it in a mailbox, that's not legal.
Right.
Can you believe that? How many people do you think are out here in Waukesha that have seniors or folks with disabilities in their homes that are going to be either disenfranchised as a result of this?
Well, and I think that, he was reading in such a way that you can think to yourself, I'm sure you think of this as a lawyer, that's clearly not what they meant. When they said that, they didn't mean when they wrote the statute, return your ballot. They didn't mean literally your husband can't take your ballot to the mailbox.
Well, they didn't.
I'm pretty sure that's not what they meant.
Specifically,
maybe they need to clarify. But
the statute did say a person. It didn't say the elector.
There you go.
The Supreme Court is hopefully going to decide it. We have an election tomorrow, February 15th, picking a mayor, candidates in Milwaukee.
Yeah, huge.
But I want to go back and stay focused on Waukesha here and sort of what I call the center of purple country.
Yes.
Right? I live in a purple state. I'm from Milwaukee, so it's a sort of a bluer purple. Right? Waukesha is
more Merlot.
Right. Exactly. Sort of like your blouse.
Yes.
Exactly. And so where are we at right now in terms of the hot issues in Waukesha around voting? Has there been a lot of discussion about Judge Bourne's decision?
I haven't heard a lot of discussion. What I've heard is a lot of confusion. So that's where, again, even if you don't believe in our values, which I think most people would if they really thought about it, you can trust what we put out on straight up voter information. We will, I immediately put up, you can use your Dropbox out for February 15th. We're now going to put out the directive, not for April 5th. We always tell people it might change in the future. We're going to keep the website updated. We want to be a trusted resource for straight up information.
So let me go. I see we're coming up to a break here. We'll be back with Kristen for more. And then we're going to introduce some friends of yours.
Yes.
And we're going to spend the next 40 minutes
talk
or
about
so
some more issues.
Talking about our kids, right? And those that we really love and care about, the future of America. Thank you. Welcome back to the Paul Revere Show, Devil Radio, The Shaw. Monday night, 7 p.m., 5:40 a.m., 101 or 92.7 FM. Call in 844-967-2789. We're here talking to Kristen Hansen of Blue Sky Waukesha, and we're going to be talking about our children, our children's education, the future of not only Waukesha, not only Wisconsin, our country. And so, how did Blue Sky Waukesha get involved in these issues involving our children?
We were always going to be involved in the school board race, just trying to vet candidates and figure out who we wanted to recommend that our members vote for. But this came to my attention, honestly, through Twitter. I saw a post from a teacher who said, I was told to rip all of the inclusive and signs that welcome diverse students down, and we're all heartbroken, and I've had these signs up for 10 years, and I can't believe this is happening because this has never been an issue in Waukesha before. And I thought, what are you talking about? And she posted some pictures of rainbows that they had to take down and signs that say, we welcome all, no longer okay.
So when did they take down the rainbows in Waukesha?
I think it was October.
So October of
the
2021.
rainbows died in October of 2021.
Well, I don't know if they're dead. They just can't be seen right now. But I think this is really, really important for us as a culture and as a people. When you say they were told to take down the rainbows,
yeah.
What was the directive? Where did it come from?
It was an email, I believe, from the superintendent to the individual principals that said anything that he considered to be political or controversial had to be taken down. And then he listed Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, anything with a rainbow, anything that talked about safe spaces, anything that talked about LGBT issues, anything that talks about diversity and race, all of that had to come down. Because they can't, and this is me editorializing, but they can't seem to figure out what is okay and what is not. They see controversy and politics in everything. And when you tell a child that their existence is political and controversial, you can imagine the damage that does. There was the television stations became interested in this, and there was a woman who was on one of the stations at a school board meeting saying that she felt that these gay kids should leave their sexual orientation at home when they come to school. That is a ridiculous statement to make.
So let's sort of back up and break this down a little bit. And I want to say that, right? I mean, I'm hoping everybody could hear that police officer cruise by, but we're all safe. But let's talk about our children. This was an email from the superintendent. This is Dr. James Siebert,
correct?
Right? So how long has Dr. Siebert been with the Waukesha School
Year and a
District?
half, maybe?
So
okay, not even 2 years.
Like almost 2 years. Do you have a sense, does Blue Sky Waukesha have a sense why Dr. Siebert issued this edict to take down items that looks like an attack on gender, on sexual preference, on race? Where do you think that came from?
This is my speculation, but I will say I don't think it's a coincidence that the makeup of the board changed in April, and those folks took over in the summer, and by the fall we were losing signs that celebrate diversity.
Okay,
There's a couple of new board members.
So let's back up.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know about the local politics.
Yeah.
And I think, and the reason I'm really talking about this, because this is not just a Waukesha issue.
No,
right?
no, not
this
at all.
This is an issue. Baraboo wrestled with it. Burlington wrestled with it. Mequon wrestled with it. And, well, as a people, we are, right? And especially as white folks, we're trying to figure out what's going on. So what happened in April of last year? Did this shift?
The shift is a couple of very radical right board members got elected, and suddenly, I feel like, first of all, let me say this: we have an excellent school system in Waukesha. There's a reason why school choice hasn't taken hold much here, and it's because our public schools are fantastic. And we were very proud of that. They rank consistently at the top of the state schools, kind of like we were cruising and everything was fine. And then somebody came in and decided to fix something that wasn't broken. And for whatever reason, and I am not seeing those people's hearts, but they seem to think that giving, that empowering students who are in the LGBTQ community, who are students of color, who are different in any way, that somehow lifting them up and empowering them is a problem. And I cannot understand that, and neither can the parents, who have now organized themselves because they don't want to see this blow up anymore. That, like, we need to tamp this down before it starts really injuring students' mental health more than it even already has. We did not, right when we were getting to a point where Waukesha was feeling like a really inclusive, welcoming community, it's like all of a sudden there are these people, and they're getting marching orders from somewhere, who decided, no, they need to change gears. The students need to be taught in beige boxes with no posters and no signage and nothing that might point out that there are differences that need to be celebrated rather than ignored.
So you talked about parents organizing. What is the Alliance for Education in Waukesha?
I'll comment on that. I'm a member of that group, and part of the founding of that group, my name is Dave Dringenberg, and I'm a resident, a parent here in Waukesha, and we have just kind of organized as like-minded parents over social media, and we try to do our best to represent safe and healthy and inclusive learning environments, and that's for equity, that's for well-fed students. We're just trying to speak on behalf of a group of parents that maybe haven't had a voice before now.
So let's just back up, right? So, Dave, you're a parent.
Yes, sir.
How many kids?
I have 2 here in the district.
Can I ask what ages?
They're both in elementary school.
Okay. So how did you find out about this edict or change? How did you become woke, put it that way? I know they don't, I use that sarcastically, right? Because usually that's a term used to attack folks that are saying, like how do we be more open and inclusive? And all of a sudden, see, this is really surprising, right? I'm from Milwaukee, and I'm here talking to you folks, and I'm reading that folks that say that they've been for free speech, all of a sudden tearing down signs for kids. And all of a sudden, it's like, who are the real censors here? So as a father, how'd you find out?
Because my kids are elementary age, that hasn't been maybe as significant at the elementary school level, but it's at the high school. And we know a lot of high school parents, and we hear these stories of signs being taken down, pride flags being taken down. And I think as a group of parents that have kind of come together, it's like, how can we use our voice to amplify these group of parents or these students that maybe don't feel like they have a voice by themselves? And that's what I think the Alliance is about. We're grassroots. We have no budget. We have no real power other than as parents united together and that was one of our unifying issues is equity, and as well as the well-fed kids in the district. There's so many things that have kind of brought us together, and I think maybe emboldened us as parents to be able to speak up and speak out, because we know we're not alone. And it's nice to have Laura next to me and Melissa next to her, other parents in the district who feel the same way I do, and it's nice to know I'm not alone.
We will. We've got about a minute left here, and then we're going to go to a break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk to Melissa and Laura some more. But what steps have parents taken? And you call yourselves the Alliance for Education in Waukesha. What does that look like organizationally?
Basically, we're not a formally organized anything with the government. We're just a group of parents that have a website, a social media page, and a voice. And the district is hearing us.
All right. Do you know your web page?
I know
if somebody
if
wants
Google,
to look for
listen,
it, I'm trying to get this in here before we go to break.
Alliance Waukesha. Just Google that. It'll come right up.
Alliance Waukesha. So anybody out there listening, Google it over the break, and then come back and call us with your questions, 844-967-2789. We're going to talk more about our kids in the future and hope and bring back the rainbows. Live at the Shaw. Welcome back to the Paul Revere Show. We are here talking about the day they took the rainbows away in Waukesha County, Wisconsin. For all you folks out there listening, we have a superintendent, Dr. James Siebert, issued an edict that said you couldn't have rainbows in your classrooms because it's too controversial. Now, what do you think of that? We have a group of parents, Alliance for Education Waukesha, here with us. You heard from Dave on the other side, but we have Melissa Bushman and Laura Pinsonol. Is that? No, come on. Pinsonol. There we go. So, Laura, how about you? You go first. How'd you get involved with the Alliance? And
well, I think, as Dave said, we kind of found each other, like-minded people in Waukesha. I think the chatter started sometime around the last board election on Facebook chats, just listening to board meetings and trying to really figure out exactly what was going on with the conversations that were being had by our board and by parents in the district through open comments. And I think at some point, I think we all just got together and said it's time we did something, or at least found some ways to be useful. So we started meeting, chatting, looking at the issues that were coming in front of us and starting to say, hey, what can we do? What actions can we take?
So when you say issues, as a parent, what do you see those issues and how do you see it impacting your children?
Yeah, well, I think we've seen systematically since the spring, one issue after another. So certainly
let's go
started
through.
with COVID mitigation and keeping our kids healthy and safe at school. That led to summer actions to start to audit school library books and censor those library books. We led to the votes on the school free food programs for breakfast and lunch. That we had a pretty active role in helping get to a special board meeting and getting that vote turned over so that we could offer breakfast and lunch to our students.
Yeah, let's come back to the food for a minute. But there's been a lot of talk around the country about books and book banning. Have they actually banned books at the high school level?
Well, we use a lot of words other than ban, but in fact, we've exhausted resources, learning resources from librarians and teachers to have them inventory over 360,000 books or so in our school libraries and classroom libraries to end up with about 5 books, I think, actually being not necessarily removed from the schools, but moved into a different library up a level. From middle school to high school or something like that. We've reworked.
Okay, but that's, I mean, it's important. Just
Yeah.
so they actually have gone through and gone carefully through books.
360,000.
How long have you been in Waukesha? And
Me?
yeah,
I've been in Waukesha 20 years.
and so has there been any of this screening books in the 20 years?
Not that I'm aware of.
Was there ever a problem with the books that kids were reading or looking at for the past 20 years?
I've had kids go through the entire school system, and never once have they shown up with a book that was a problem.
So what are the books that have been moved up? It sounds like they've gone from younger kids up. Is that
Yes.
is that what is done?
Yes.
They haven't banned them. They just said they're not encouraging kids of certain ages to
Correct.
have easy access to them.
Correct. Yes.
So what are the books? I'm just curious.
Well, most of those books are titled and highlight LGBT issues, anti-racism issues, sexuality, sexual identity, pretty much the list that's been handed over from the far right agenda just worked its way right onto the desk of our librarian.
So why do you think, we're sitting here, there's, 5 of us in this room, we're all white. Why do you think these other white folks are afraid of these books? What is it about these ideas that you think make them run and hide?
I think that's a really tough question to answer. I think that there is a lot of fear that we have been hearing messaged over the last 4 years about white people not getting everything that they need, and that it's some kind of trade-off for equity, right? In order for people of color to have their needs met, that must mean that whites can't have theirs. And so we've pitted them against each other.
Well, it seems to me, looking, I've got an office in Waukesha, and I've spent quite a bit of time out here, but this is not a county where there's a lot of deprived white people, right? I mean, there's not a lot of oppression, right? This is Lake Country, a lot of wealthy white folks. But what do you think it is that is driving certain board members in this regard? Because it's really like, why are they afraid of a rainbow, right? Why are they afraid to let a kid have their freedom? I see there's your friend right there. Dave wants to jump in. Go ahead, Dave.
I think the biggest issue is the look and feel of Waukesha specifically is changing. The demographics are changing. The socioeconomic status of folks here is changing. When I look down the street, I see a really diverse set of folks. My neighbors, kids that go to my kids' school, they're not that homogenous white middle class to upper middle class look that maybe all of Waukesha is used to.
So why do you think folks are afraid of this? Because this is why I say it, right? I put it out there. I grew up in Nigeria, so I knew really as a very, very early age, there are really not a lot of white folks on the whole planet. And so we're all human beings, right? And so we should be treated like human beings and human rights. But I've always wondered about this. What is it? Because it's like, why would you be afraid? Right? Why would we be afraid?
I think if we knew that
Melissa.
answer, I think if we knew that answer, our minds would be blown. It just is something that is, we're like you said, we're all humans. We should be all treated like humans, and that's it.
Right? I mean, I've always said, right, I carry this Constitution around, right? Because it's my Constitution, right? It's my Union flag. It says, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, right? It seems like that's what you're trying to do, a more perfect union. So, Melissa,
Yeah.
what do you think that scares them about this idea of a more perfect union?
I honestly have no idea. Dave, do you have an idea?
Well, Dave has a theory.
Listen, I grew up in Kentucky, in a very white town. And it took me moving to Baltimore and living in the city, living in urban areas, to appreciate the fact that there is value in diversity. Because when I grew up in a very, again, homogenous, I use that term a lot, a very homogenous area and neighborhood, and I'm having my eyes and mind open to my experience isn't the only experience of value in the world. And I think there are people of color and different ethnicities and different religions and different backgrounds. They all have value in their background as well. And I think a lot of these issues that are cropping up come from a lack of empathy, a lack of being able to say, I've been down in the road in someone else's shoes, and there is stuff to be learned from that and value in that. So that's my experience.
Thank you much. We have a caller on the line waiting to get on, Sarah Harrison. And Evan, you want to let her on, and then we'll...
Yeah, we're all set. We got a couple minutes before break, and then we got that segment to really dig into it.
So okay, you're suggesting we bring in Sarah after the break?
Yeah, let's break right now, in fact. We can do it now, so we have a nice long
there we
nice
go.
Long chat.
That's what I need. Evan is my producer, a brilliant, brilliant man. Thank you, Evan. We'll be right back. We are back to the Paul Revere Show. We're talking about Waukesha, and we're talking about the day they took down the rainbows, because somehow we white folks are too afraid of rainbows. Can you believe it? We have Sarah Harrison calling in. And Sarah, are you there?
I'm here.
So I heard a rumor that you are running for the school board, and it's really nice to have you call in. So why don't you tell us a little bit about why you're running for the school board?
Certainly, thank you. Yes, the rumors are true. I am running for Waukesha School Board. I have two kids in the Waukesha School District. My oldest, Lucas, is a senior, and my youngest, Chuck, is a freshman. And we have always kept an eye on school board goings-on, but over the last couple of years, we've really been at a lot of the meetings, listening very intensely to what was going to be done in terms of COVID mitigation policies, making sure that we are keeping on top of everything that's going on with some of the social unrest that's out there in our world today. And unfortunately, our school also has been making lots of news by doing some interesting things, and one of those is the removal of what are considered political signs, and that in this dictum that came from the administration, it did not come from the school board, that it did include all LGBTQ affirming signage, even to go so far as safe space signs were not allowed. The school's own diversity policy was not allowed to be printed because it was printed in like a rainbow color. Yep. That wasn't allowed to be on the walls. So I have gone and spoken my piece as a parent and as a community member, and I've not been satisfied with the results. So I'm taking it one more step further.
Well, it's really nice to know that we have folks that are not afraid of human beings. What do you... I mean, really, folks. I mean, you know, that when it comes down to it, right? This is what always amazes me. You know, there was an author, B.B. Moore Campbell. She wrote an African-American writer. She would always write, or she wrote a book where she quoted this. She says, "What happened to white people? When did they become afraid? I'm walking down the sidewalk and they crossed the street and they said, these are the folks that conquered the world. When did they become so afraid?" So, Sarah, I'm glad you're not afraid. So tell us why you got us here.
Yeah.
What do you think you can do to help Waukesha get its soul back and put the rainbows back?
Yeah.
I mean, I never thought Waukesha was a chicken place, right? A fearful place. So,
No. And I truly believe, based on my interactions with the community, that's not really reflective of our community. There's a loud minority that's definitely clamoring a lot of bells and alarms and all these things, but I truly believe that most folks out there in our community really are accepting and wonderful and loving people, and they want our schools to reflect that as well. So I think there's a couple of things. There's a willingness to stir up trouble. I am absolutely not afraid to bring up a topic, and if you want proof, you can go look at my Facebook page, because I let everybody post on there, including people saying I'm going to vote for the other guys. That's fine. You have every right to do that. I'm not afraid of those difficult conversations, because I've thought through where I stand on things, and I'm very willing to have those open conversations. So that's one thing, is I will definitely take on the difficult subjects, and I will not shy away from that.
So let me just ask.
Oh, sorry,
okay,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm talking a lot. Please.
No. Go ahead.
Oh, so from an academic perspective, the big thing that is really challenging for our school district, and I'm actually at an elementary school right now. I'm in like a back hallway tucked away. I'm at a listening session because we're potentially combining two of our elementary schools.
Oh.
And
I think we lost her.
oh, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. We lost you for 1 second.
Okay, super. All right. We have an achievement gap, which is not unique to Waukesha, but it is something that we need to address, and we need to make sure that we're bringing resources to the students who need them, and it's not a peanut butter spread. It's not one size fits all. These are humans that we are trying to help along the path, and it only benefits our community to put more resources where more resources are needed. So there's a lot of conversation around that, and there are folks out there that believe it should be each student gets the exact same resources, but each student doesn't need the exact same resources. One kid might need some more help in math, and someone else needs help in English. If you give them the exact same peanut butter spread, neither one of those kids is going to succeed. So,
And we all need a
trying
lot
to
of
fight
science.
for this little guy. Yes. Absolutely. Can we please keep teaching science and history? I'm very scared if we don't keep teaching those.
That's how Elon Musk is going to get to Mars, is science, and I don't think we should just let it have the planet by himself, right? So I'm really glad, Sarah, that you said this about Waukesha folks generally, because that's been my experience, that people have good hearts, they're open-minded. So how is it that you said there's this loud minority? So how does the silent majority really address this loud minority, right?
Vote.
Exactly. Right. Vote. Yes. Go vote tomorrow. That's step one. And step two is just, I would say, show up once in a while. You don't have to go to every meeting. You don't have to out-clamor the clamorers, but, be part of the conversation. And you don't have to be there in person. You could call one of your school board members. You can send them an email.
All of their emails are online.
Yes.
That was Melissa Bushman of the Alliance for Education Waukesha.
Hi, Sarah.
Oh, hi, Melissa. Hi.
Sounds like she's a supporter, so maybe she's voted already. I don't know.
I am a Sarah fan.
Well, thank you.
So, what's your experience been going around and talking to your neighbors and folks, are people worried or about this loud minority, or what do you think?
Yeah, people are worried because they see a lot of division in society, as kind of like when you're looking at it at a macro level, but also when you're looking in our community at more of a micro level. They see that people are digging into positions and not necessarily having an open mind and listening to what's going on. One of the things that I actually say on my website is I'm humble enough to change my mind. If I was wrong, I will tell you I was wrong, and I will change my mind. I think that's much more important than digging in and being very stubborn that I was right the first time. That's a bunch of baloney, and if my kids did that, they would be in trouble. So, yeah. So it's important to be able to have a conversation, and people are not feeling like that's happening out there right now. It's a big issue. It's not something that one person or one race can help, but each little piece of the puzzle can help us build back to where hopefully we can have a civil discourse and actually focus on the things that are truly important for our kids and for their education.
So, there's been some talk here in the room about food and the whole board issue with food. How do you see that as a candidate, and what does that actually mean to folks? It all obviously means something to everybody in this room when you say food, but I like food. But what does that issue mean in Waukesha?
I love food, and so do the kids who go to our schools, and they would all love to have breakfast, but 8 of our elementary schools do not currently get breakfast through the Seamless Summer option. They have federal funding available to have breakfast at those schools. However, the reason that was given for those schools not getting the breakfast when we finally did say, yes, we'll take the SSO money, is just that those schools hadn't had breakfast in the past when it was a paid option, so therefore they didn't get it when it was a free option, which is a very strange reason to me. I think kids like to eat, whether breakfast was there, a couple of years ago or not. They still would really like to have breakfast. And some of those schools are also in some of our more at-need areas. Our 2 biggest at-need schools do have the breakfast options. That's a very good thing. But out of the 8, we have definitely some kids who could really benefit from that. And it does no harm to us. There was a concern at the beginning of the process because of title funding that we wanted to make sure we had accounted for students who would qualify for specific types of funding, because it does go to more than just the food program. However, in our most recent board meeting, they said we're on top of it now. We have all the numbers basically back to where they used to be. We feel good about those numbers, so there's really no reason not to give these poor kids a banana, please.
So, your name is on the ballot tomorrow?
It is. Okay, can I share a fun fact?
You can share a fun fact, and you have about 50 seconds to share it. So make it in 30.
Primary is tomorrow. The general election is April 5th. My oldest turns 18 between those 2 dates, so you got to get me on that ballot, people, because my son needs to vote for me.
Now, I really like that. And tomorrow you can use a drop box, and tomorrow you can take your disabled mother's absentee ballot and deliver it yourself, but not on April 5th, folks. Okay, on April 5th, you're just going to have to take them down and vote personally.
Go to myvote.wi.gov. Myvote.wi.gov. Everybody go there. That's the gold standard website.
Thank you.